I think there comes a time in everyone's life when the werewolf-like winds of misdirection and the beasts of bad timing put us in an impossible situation.
This is I Don't Even Own a Television. Swine Not.
1, 2, 3. There are books that are good. There are books that are bad. There's some books so fucking awful you wish you never had read them at all. 'Cause a novel can ruin your life. Hey buddy, I don't even own a television.
All right, welcome to I Don't Even Own a Television. I am J.W. Friedman.
And I'm Chris, a whole bunch of extremely good reasons, Swine Not, Clsn.
And this is a podcast about bad books. I don't know if you noticed, but I flipped it there a little bit. But this time around, this is a podcast about a book that I thought fucking ruled. But not in the way it wants to.
I think we really flipped the script this time. I'm looking forward to getting into it because I think usually when there's an enthusiasm gap this large, it's a bonus episode and it's a really bad movie. And I'm like, I thought it was neat. All these people got together and put on a show. And Jay is like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever sat through. Whereas this time I've been getting texts from him about every 15 minutes about how excited he is. And I'm like, yeah, I couldn't even finish it until late last night because it was making me so angry on every page.
I will say, okay, well, to start with, hang on. This definitely deserves, I think, a synchronized pop if you're ready.
Well, I'm ready.
Let's do it. This is a book by none other than Jimmy Buffett, who apparently writes novels, called Swine Not. It is not marketed as a children's book. The cover does not look like a children's book, but apparently we were tricked into doing a children's book. And before we even get any further, I just want to talk a little bit about who Jimmy Buffett is in case some of our listeners are unfamiliar.
Jay, who is Jimmy Buffett?
Jimmy Buffett is a man who started out playing a special brand of music that takes all the worst parts of country and white boy reggae and like mixes it together into something that he calls golf and western.
Wait, do you say golf and western?
Golf. Like
Golf.
the Gulf Coast.
Oh, well, that's actually kind of clever. That was a big company at one time, too.
Yeah.
And so it's like country western, but he's southern and seafaring.
Yes.
Thence the Gulf. I get it.
Yeah.
I kind of like that.
So if you've ever known anyone who owns a large sailboat, you've probably heard Jimmy Buffett. If you've ever known anyone from Florida and hung out around their parents for a significant amount of time, there's a good chance you've heard Jimmy Buffett. He's mostly famous for a song called Margaritaville and a song called
Wasting Away Therein.
And a song called Cheeseburger in Paradise, which is about exactly what you think it is.
Is it about having a cheeseburger in a town that recently suffered one of the most devastating wildfires in history?
No. This way predates that. This is just literally about having a cheeseburger in paradise.
So is it a sequel or is a sequel to Two Tickets to Paradise, the Eddie Money banger?
2 tickets and a cheeseburger to paradise. Which, I mean, if I had 2 tickets to paradise, my plus one would probably be a cheeseburger, so I think it all works out. But, he's mostly known for making incredibly accessible music for a certain demographic, and that demographic, I would say, would be men in their late 40s, early 50s with large amounts of disposable income who really like boats and deck shoes.
Or the kind of people who aspire to be that kind of person.
Yes. And now it's also worth mentioning that in addition to being a person, Jimmy Buffett is also a brand.
Oh boy, is he.
He has a series of restaurants named Margaritaville after the song.
And when you go in, they do welcome you.
Yeah.
Can confirm, have been to one.
I had a friend who played in the house band for the Margaritaville in Orlando, and every time he hears just the first 3 notes of that song, he has this visceral "turn it off" reaction.
And I've defended that song on this podcast in the past, and I'll do so again, but in a very abbreviated way. Jimmy Buffett has this reputation as kind of a breezy, good time music fella, and I do think that's what a lot of the people in the crowd are there for.
Yeah.
But Wasting Away, again in Margaritaville, is an incredibly bleak song.
A lot of his songs are actually, I'm going to admit, I did some research for reasons we'll get into later and listened to a bunch of Jimmy Buffett, and a lot of his songs are pretty fucking bleak.
It's very morning after music. It's
Yeah.
very I thought I was partying last night, but what I really am is a 53-year-old man with a cocaine hangover and
like,
no family members left talking
he's
to
the
me.
darker side of the Eagles.
Very much so, very much so. And like, I think Jimmy Buffett actually is quite talented and a little edgier than he gets criticized for being, but that may just be because I happen to know that he allowed Hunter Thompson to live with him off and on for a long time and would do things like subsidize Hunter Thompson's drug habits. So he's got to have some kind of bad decision component to him.
So not to get too far off on a digression here, but he is from South Florida. An ex-bandmate of mine went to high school with his daughter at a school for the gifted and talented and kind of hung out in the same crowd as her. And apparently their frequent excursions involved first stopping by her house to steal weed from Jimmy Buffett's stash, which was apparently incredible weed.
I would venture to guess that weed would be best categorized as primo.
Yeah, I would say it's some primo tie stick given the era.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Jimmy Buffett, I think you're right. There's a little more to him than just the Bermuda shorts and the fucking Hawaiian shirts. But musically, not a lot there. Literarily, definitely not a lot there. But I do want to mention a couple more things about his brand. He also sells frozen dinners. Jimmy Buffett themed frozen dinners.
Do they package them in such a way that there's many different choices and you kind of push your tray down the aisle and pick and choose from?
No, that would be a Jimmy Buffet.
Explain.
Two different things. He also has a beer, which I did not realize was a Jimmy Buffett beer, called Land Shark. I've drank it several times and enjoyed it. And it turns out that is Jimmy Buffett's beer. And most interestingly of all, he recently opened a series of, I believe there are now 3, 55 and over communities entitled Latitudes Margaritaville, which are basically like little gated communities that you can only live in if you're over the age of 55. So we're talking retirement community, basically. And they're all jam-packed. People bought houses before they were even built so that they could live in Jimmy Buffett land, basically. So the power this guy has is tremendous. His fans call themselves parrot heads. They have an official like group, sort of like a very, very tame Hell's Angels, and there are over 25,000 of them nationwide. And those are just the fans that are, hardcore enough to subscribe to the parrot head like lifestyle.
Well, I guess then we will know who's responsible if I disappear or am bludgeoned to death after I say the following. This is the worst book I can remember reading, and I don't know how long.
See, I kind of agree with you, except I'm not going to say it's the worst book that we've read and I don't know how long. I'm going to say it's the dumbest book we've read and I don't know how long. And I found it incredibly enjoyable as a result, because before we go any further into the plot or anything else about this book, I just want to tell you that this is a book about a clever pig whose name is Rumpy. The pig's name is Rumpy. It's a she, sorry. Her name is Rumpy. We were basically tricked into reading a kid's book by the illustration on the cover, which does not look like a kid's book. What it is depending on which issue you get, looks like Clsn's is a bit older than mine. On the cover, Jimmy is just chilling in a hammock, reading a book with a red cover next to a pig.
He's on the beach. He's reading a book with a red cover. He's next to a pig. He's barefoot. He's grinning up a storm. This might be the thing that makes me angriest about my edition of the book, because, Jay, what does your edition of the book then feature?
My edition of the book is exactly the same, except instead of a plain red-covered book, Jimmy Buffett is reading the book that you're holding, Swine Not, which features the same cover art, infinitely recursing. So
some MC Escher shit.
Yeah, it's just, Buffett and a Buffett and a Buffett. And man, it's amazing. And it just really sets everything up. But yeah, nothing about this cover screams children's book. Nothing about the marketing around it screams children's book. This is a children's book. So I guess we're deviating from form a little bit, but we got fooled. So I wanted to make that clear up front.
Yeah, we decided we were going to do a Jimmy Buffett book. We'd been given one a long time ago. Somebody else mentioned, hey, Jimmy Buffett writes books. Seemed right up our alley. We landed on this one. And it is hard not to feel pretty badly fucked over. I want to put one final note in the Is This a Children's Book? Yes. And the thing is, on the Also by Jimmy Buffett page in my copy, it lists 2 books for young readers. This is not something that he hasn't done before. This is not something that couldn't be labeled properly.
Yeah, I mean, I have a friend who used to work at Barnes & Noble in a somewhat at a curatorial capacity, and apparently this is pretty common for celebrities. Basically, the idea is that there is a pitch for a book that you're going to sell this to fans of X celebrity that have kids so they can read it to their kids or give it to their kids, but you're marketing to the adults, not the children. However, I still feel bamboozled. Completely bamboozled.
If you read this to a child, you belong in prison.
That is entirely true as well. Okay, so moving on. This book has some... okay, we got to do plot in 60 seconds or I'm just going to ramble for 20 minutes before we do. Because as I said off mic and you said I needed to repeat on mic, I could talk about this book for 3 hours probably, but nobody wants to listen to me talk about this book for 3 hours. So let's try to condense it down into a short form and do a plot in 60 seconds.
And without being a complete ass, I don't want to be here for that either.
Well, after you leave, I'll still be talking about this book, so don't worry. But anyway, here's a plot in 60 seconds.
Nobody knows if you're finished or not. You got 60 seconds to give them a plot. Plot in 60 seconds.
Okay, so Clsn. You think you can handle it?
Okay, we talked at length about it last week. As new listeners may not be aware, there's been some family discord and strife. I have been threatened physically and emotionally over my repeated failures to bring the plot in 60 in under 60 seconds. It's a new year. I failed last time, but I did give it the old private college try. I'm going to do it again I'm not going to do it again this week in the sense of failing again. I'm going to get it this week. And if you're out there saying when pigs fly, well,
let me tell you.
This is a book where it happens.
This is prime 60-second plot material because, it's for kids. So, are you ready?
I am.
Begin.
Rumpy is a reading soccer goalie playing pig in a family of Ellie, a more or less single mom and a hotshot pastry chef when she's not coaching youth soccer for her all-conquering son, Barley. Barley has a twin sister named Maple who sort of exists and is a girl and therefore sews and wants to be a fashion designer. The whole family has just moved to New York City so Ellie can be a pastry chef to the stars at a 4-star hotel where they all live. Just one problem, record scratch, pigs aren't allowed in hotels. And Ellie's mean French boss from New Jersey wants to kill pigs, and Rumpy wants to find her twin brother pig, Lukey. Will Rumpy find Lukey? Will either evil head chef Boucher kill and eat Rumpy? Will Barley win a state championship, get recruited to the pros, and become best friends with his pro soccer player idol? Will Ellie go on a truly good date? Did I do it?
You did it.
Woo!
By like 6 seconds, too. Woo! With 6 seconds to spare. You did neglect to mention Rumpy until about the middle, but that's okay.
Rumpy was the first word I said.
Oh, you're right. My bad. I just want to point out, within 10 pages of this book, we swing from a pig teetering over the heights of New York City from the edge of a skyscraper to a flashback that straight up includes there's no rule that says a pig can't play soccer scene.
Yep.
So I am absolutely here for this book.
So if this book weren't a children's book and were just one of the sadly rare genre of books basically describing a cartoon, I would have liked this. And when I still kind of thought that might be what I was in for, I was prepared to not hate this book. Unfortunately, it gives up the slapstick and gives up the fun aspects of it and devotes itself mostly to turgid explanations of what smell mail is, or can pigeons talk? Yes, but only to pigs. Can pigs talk? Yes, but only to pigs and other pigeons, but not to cats. And none of them can talk to humans. You know, and it's just interminable, and it's unfunny, and it takes forever for nothing to happen, and it's profoundly perverse in more than 3 ways. And I'm not just talking about the scene where the mother, an acclaimed chef who is conquering New York, serves to her previously explicitly identified as vegan daughter a lobster omelet.
That's a good point. Yeah, there's a lot of surprisingly pro-vegetarian vegan rhetoric here, which kind of shocked me until I realized, oh, it's a book told from the perspective partially of a pig.
Yeah.
So you have to do that. But yeah, that it kind of flip-flops as to whether Buffett remembers who's vegetarian and who isn't in the book. I do want to say, though, just one of the things I love about this book. I mentioned that within one of the first 10 pages, we get a pig teetering from the heights. He's on the edge of a skyscraper. He's about to possibly go over. That happens at like the first chapter. And then the beginning of chapter 4 is one of my favorite pieces of bad writing ever, because it starts out like this. It should be noted, this chapter is from the perspective of Rumpy. My name is Rumpy. As you can see, I did not go over the icy ledge. And it's a good thing, because you wouldn't have gotten my side of the story. I can't believe you don't find this as hilarious as I do. Like, it's just amazingly how bad this is written. Like,
my name is Rumpy. I live on the 2nd floor.
I just love it. Starts out with a cliffhanger, which comes back as an actual cliffhanger, like about 150 pages later. But the very next time you hear from the character, it's like, oh yeah, by the way, I didn't die or anything, because here I am narrating.
Yeah, that's a trick I believe known as the quantum leap intro. But yeah, I get what you liked about it, but for me it was difficult to tease out that stuff because it's buried in a morass of not really knowing what's going on at any given time, because both narrators switch back and forth from present tense narration to past tense narration.
True.
Completely without regard to like anything. It just sort of happens and nobody bothered to edit it. Now, normally I regard people who point out shifts in tense like that as people who have not grown out of things they were told in grade 4.
Yeah.
In this case, though, it is legitimately jarring because exactly one element of the story is told out of sequence. That's the opening.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that's how you write a book, dude.
But it never, like, I was done with it and had to sit down and think, wait, where did that scene actually fit in the story? And then finally I was like, oh, right, it's where he meets and what is the cutesy name for the militarized pigeon squadron?
Oh, that would be the Pigelantes. How can you not fucking love this?
That's not a good joke, Jay.
It's not a good joke at all. That's what makes it amazing. Like, everything in this book, I have it even, the title of my notes is Swine Not, a.k.a. Dad Joke the Book by Jimmy Buffett.
Okay, I think that actually was one of the major problems for me. Swine Not doesn't work for me as a title.
No.
Because I don't say Swine Not.
Yeah, no, right? Nobody says that.
The guy who did the audiobook comes really close to nailing it, because this is a very rare kind of book indeed. It is the kind of book that forces me to break a rule, and that rule is I give a half grade bump to anything that ends with the title.
And it does.
But no, fuck that. I'm breaking the rules. This is the exception that makes me take that offline.
I thought for sure that was going to be one of your high points.
Nope. I felt angry and pandered to. So the audiobook reader was able to kind of land it like, hey, swine not. Like, it can be done, but it doesn't work the way I say it. And then the subtitle is A Novel Pig Tale. Tale. And that just doesn't work on any level.
I mean, we'll get into it a little more.
The sequence of words, novel, pig, tail, barely coheres.
Yeah, and the word novel in that sense, we'll get into it when we get into our game segment, but...
calling this a novel is borderline legally actionable.
And calling it novel as in unique or original is also kind of along the same grounds. We should do high points, low points soon so I don't blow everything, but first I think we do need to do a quick rundown of the characters real quick because we didn't... plot in 60 seconds, you were kind of rushed, and it is worth mentioning, as you said, this book switches between two narrators.
There's two narrators, Rumpy the pig and Barley the soccer-playing, all-conquering hero, and they are the only characters who matter in the book.
That is not true. There is also Boucher.
Yeah, the evil chef who wants to kill and eat Rumpy.
There is Ella the mom, who is a mom.
The 4-star pastry chef / soccer coach / date want to go on her.
Yeah, there's Maple, the girl.
The girl.
However, it should be mentioned, as thinly drawn as Maple is...
She's also Barley's twin. I can't remember if I mentioned
they're
that.
twins. Barley is not drawn with much more depth than Maple. Even in my notes, I have the kids have each exactly one
trait.
interest.
Yep.
Like, Barley is super into soccer... And Maple is really into fashion, particularly Karen Wu.
Right.
So, which is a made-up name,
right,
but may remind you of someone real. Much like the fact that...
The Wu-Tang Clan?
No.
She wants to do streetwear, right? She wants
to be the creator of the next Supreme, the next streetwear brand to get bought by the Koch brothers or whoever the fuck it was that bought it.
I think she wants to be FUBU, but white.
Ah, okay. Yeah,
For us, by us.
Oh, you mean like most of the entirety of the United States?
Certainly most of the entirety of Jimmy Buffett fans. Oh,
dang. Okay,
but, sorry. What other characters did I miss?
That's pretty much it. I did want to mention they each have one personality trait. I also wanted to mention that the hero of Barley is the most thinly disguised David Beckham I've ever read. It's hilarious. His name is Maynard Beecham, I believe. He's described as starting with Manchester, going to play for Real Madrid, then moving to the States to play for the LA Galaxy and be in movies. It's like, why didn't you just fucking call him David Beckham? You're allowed to do that in books.
Hello. That's my, Daryl Meacham, or what is his fucking name? Yeah,
Daryl Meacham, yeah.
Like...
Also, the kid is a New York Red Bulls fan.
Yeah.
Those don't exist.
Actually, I think they do.
Well, I don't like it.
It's not good. In the audiobook, the guy apparently doesn't know how a lot of names work. So the dad, who we haven't mentioned, which is hilarious, his name is Oliver, and he is off stage through the bulk of the book in what the audiobook narrator calls Iceland.
Iceland.
Ooh,
that's my second favorite country.
And he also continually refers to them as the New York Red Bulls.
The Red Bulls.
Yeah, it's really baffling.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't seem to know that Red Bull in this context is a proper noun, not an adjective modifying a noun.
Well, maybe he's just very healthy and stays away from energy drinks.
That would be extremely wise of him. I want to mention one trait that we skipped over about Boucher.
It's Boucher, I believe.
Oh, you're probably right.
His name means butcher, so that would be Boucher, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so Boucher, evil chef Boucher, he's the most aggressively over-the-top French stereotype ever.
Oh, yes.
One of the things about Rumpy is Rumpy has a very sensitive nose, so good on whoever knows that about pigs. Got that one right. And every time Boucher hits the page... we hear that he smells like Turkish cigarettes, garlic, and red wine. And this happens even though at one point he explicitly pulls a flask out of his pocket and takes a nip of...
something that isn't red wine, I guess.
Whiskey.
Yeah.
They don't explicitly mention that he's wearing a horizontally striped shirt with a baguette tucked under his arm.
You could smell a beret and a twirly mustache.
Oh, it is so over the top. And that is actually kind of the book I was hoping to get, where it's sort of like a triplets of Belleville style insane cartoon, but on book form. That would have been a good book.
You might have gotten that had this not been written by the man who wrote a song entitled Let's Get Drunk and Screw.
Okay, better or worse than Ice-T's legendary "Let's Get Buck Naked and Fuck"?
You know, I wonder if that was a response to Jimmy Buffett.
I want to know which one came first.
Me too.
I really want to know which one
now
came
I'm
first.
super curious. I got to do some research.
If you're listening, were you inspired to one-up Jimmy Buffett? Did you look out and say, I've conquered all the MCs there are because I'm that good, and now I need to stretch my wings into other genres? Or was there some other place that song came from?
I mean, it is kind of a universal sentiment.
Then why are there only 2 songs about it?
There's more. I think there's only 2 that are that literal. I would argue that probably like 75% of the rock and roll pantheon is about this exact thing.
Okay, listener contest. If you can name other songs that include the sentiments of take your clothes off so that we can have sex, write in at I don't even own a television at gmail.com, and I'll send you a koozie.
I can already think of like 8, but I'll stop.
But it has to. But you don't listen to the show.
Yeah, and it has to be in the title.
It doesn't have to be in the title, but it has to include explicit descriptions of clothes coming off for the purpose of having sex.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. Yeah, that's a good rule.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking like, Nelly hot in here, but he's just saying to take your clothes off because it's hot.
Right.
The sex is implied.
Right. And that... I'm not here for implied sex. I did not get born in the 70s so that I have to, in 2019, hear about implied sex or look at implied sex. I can get into R-rated movies, and that's the kind of entertainment I crave. It's the kind of entertainment I deserve, and it's the kind of entertainment I demand.
Me too. And I think right now what our listeners deserve and are demanding is for us to finally get to high points, low points.
Anybody still listening?
Yeah.
I salute you.
So here's a song.
High points are high,
And the points are low.
high points.
Low points, get ready to go.
All right, so high points and low points. We're going to rattle off a couple of high points, a couple of low points. Let you know what we liked about this book and what we didn't like about this book. And once again, the enthusiasm gap is wide. It's like an enthusiasm canyon, a chasm. Evel Knievel could leap over this gap. I'm guessing right now.
He would get halfway through, and then gravity would take over, and he would plummet to his death.
You mean like just about every time Evel Knievel tried to leap over something?
Oh.
I love the fact that he failed upwards in the most spectacular way possible.
Failing upwards while falling downwards.
Ooh.
The Evel Knievel irony. I'll be pitching this.
That could also be a line from this book.
Fuck, I wish.
All right, high points. Who should go first? Me? All right.
Yeah. You know why? Because you have one.
All right. So my first high point is one particular scene, and it's a scene that made something about this book become crystal clear to me, and I really, really love it. So I'm going to read for a little bit here. This is a paragraph narrated by Rumpy. Oh, which, by the way, many chapters narrated by Rumpy start out with the word oink. Just in case you forgot, Rumpy is a pig. Okay,
Thanks, Jimmy. Way to trust your reader. By the way, on the hard copy, every chapter starts with an bolded... Yeah, and on your copy, too. You don't even need to start the chapter with the word oink, because above it, bolded and centered, is whoever is narrating it to you.
So, Rumpy. Oink! Well, Syrup the cat isn't the only four-legged creature around here with a streak of curiosity. I, too, was awakened by Maple's loud whisper, and I suddenly opened one eye. Then I read the page as Barley was spreading out on the couch between us. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. The first page had a large photograph of a smiling man with a preacher-politician grin. It spoke loads about cosmetic dentistry and plastic surgery. One could only wonder what was really behind that huge reconstructed smile. I read on. Oh yeah, in case you didn't know, some of us pigs do read. The second page was composed of clippings from the Nashville paper hailing Coach B.A. Boykin as some kind of messiah. He was a local ball player who had made the big time in the NFL and was now joining the Titans, our Tennessee pro team, as its new head coach, heralded by headlines, photo ops, and muffler commercials. Like Barley, I am not a football fan. I had been exposed to the game far too many times in Pancake Park. Soccer is an afterthought in Vertigo, and Pancake Park had been groomed, manicured, and designed primarily for football, which is still looked upon as religion in Tennessee. When fall comes, battalions of leagues, from peewees to tiny mites to midgets to players from elementary schools in Vertigo High, take over the park and do battle. I think there would be a league for babies in diapers if some fans around here had their way. We soccer nerds take a very distant backseat to this kind of football madness. And here's the part that I really, really like. The next page dropped in front of my snout. "Oh no," Barley gasped. It was a story Maple had downloaded from a feminist website. Yes. The title of the article was "Women Beware, the 20 Worst Eligible Bachelors in America and Why You Want to Avoid Them." It's worth mentioning one of these is a man that Ella is about to go on a blind date with. The story led off with Coach B.A. Boykin in his years as a pro quarterback with the Arizona Cardinals, his born-again experience, and his run for Congress. There were pictures of him deer hunting and playing golf with George Bush. Barley and Maple went off to search the internet for more, so when I had read enough, I ate the pages, climbed off the couch, and went outside for a walk. Now, so this is them being concerned that their mom is about to date a jerk, basically.
Yep.
But what really, really got me about this was halfway through, I realized they are reading things that they printed off the internet. These are teenagers printing websites and reading them. And if you ever needed like more confirmation that this is a book written by an old guy, okay, there you go, right there.
Also, though, 11 years ago, in 2008, it was less implausible to do that, I think. Also,
nobody ever printed out things from the internet to bring and share with their friends. And even later on in the book, it talks about them huddling around the computer looking at stuff. Mm-hmm. So I was just like, this is such an old manish thing to write. And it cracked me up because I realized they were printing out pages from quote unquote feminist websites.
You know, good on you, Maple. I am glad you are out there reading 2008 Jezebel, 2008 Wonkette.
There are also phrases in this like I wasn't going to find my brother by blogging some MySpace site.
Actually, that aside from the bit that you just read, that sentence might be the best written sentence in the entire book.
But yeah, it's old manish as hell, and just that concept. I laughed a lot when I realized what was going on. I laughed a lot at a lot of concepts in this book. I didn't laugh at the jokes in this book.
Oh, well, that brings me to my high point.
Ah, good.
Because I actually did like a couple of the jokes in this book quite a bit. I'm going to read a few of them for you, if I might. Paul, can I have a little joke reading music, please? No, I reading some jokes. Yeah. That's my Paul and my Dave Letterman. Okay. When we first moved here, the constant wail of sirens really bothered me, but after a while, I stopped paying attention. This time, Maple and I could see it was something big, and we went over to check it out. Somebody said the mayor's mother had almost burned alive in a freak fire, but she had been rescued by an anteater. Well, that's New York for you, I said. I thought that was pretty funny. That's a 12-year-old.
Yeah.
Just, well, that's New York for you. I see that this did not land with you. This isn't quite a joke, but it's a section that I thought was really well written in a way that's similar to a joke or a song. It's well crafted. Mm-hmm. Bleak, gray days gave way to yet another storm, but this one just dumped an ocean of rain on our heads. Barley had school in his Red Bulls Academy. Maple had extra sewing to do, and Ellie was busy gearing up for the approaching holiday season. It seemed that my only friend in the world was the weatherman, and even he was starting to sound unhappy. Now I understood why they called the storms pockets of low pressure. I was feeling both low and pressure. That is not great on the page, but you can see something there. Like, that's the beginning of a pretty good song, probably called Becalmed.
Spoiler alert, we're going to hear this exact passage again later on. So yeah, just be prepared.
Tits. It also concludes with like a little bit of, I'm going to project here, and what this is the version of Jimmy Buffett that I hope exists. The sky remained that shade of gray humans paint their warships, and it was again void of birds. They obviously had better sense than humans, and had taken wing to warmer climes. If this pig had wings, she would do the same. New York had slowly overwhelmed me, and I had just about lost all hope. So we've got about 2 ideas or images per sentence there, not one of which has anything to do with any of the others in particular. So, Jimmy Buffett, I salute you, weed dad.
Pretty good.
Just sitting there, free associating your way to the end of the chapter. My man. So yeah, those are the Jimmy Buffett moments that I enjoyed in this book. But we can't, like winged pigs, soar with the pigeons all the time, can we, Jay?
No, we gotta bring it low.
We got to power dive down, drop anchor.
And one of the reasons why I was not tickled by the joke that you were tickled by is because it's representative of what I consider to be a very low point in this book, and it's pervasive. This is a family that moves from the Midwest, small town.
Tennessee,
okay. The southern small town of Vertigo, Tennessee, to the big city of New York City.
the Big Apple, the city with broad shoulders.
And it is filled with this constant, this big city is just a pile of trash compared to the small town life of the South shit. And it gets overwhelming. It's like, literally like, oh my God, people in New York have no manners. It's really crowded. Everyone's in a hurry here. Everyone acts nervous. They wear all black. The women are all skinny. Wah, I'm a baby. I can't adjust to change. And it drove me crazy because A, it's just a really shitty attitude to have, and B, it just reminded me of like every hack comic I've ever seen talk about New York. So any of those kind of like New York focused jokes, I think, just kind of, those were my least favorite attempts at humor in the book, I think. I was far more interested in reading about I almost forgot Rumpy's name and called her Burley.
But Burley and Barley would have been better executed than Barley and Maple.
Yeah, well, they're just such a down-home, nature-y family that they got to name the kids nature shit. But I was just, I was thinking that I would have been far more entertained reading more about Rumpy, who apparently at one point did a P. Diddy tango impression in a talent show. How does that work? Has Diddy ever done a tango in public?
I remember him as being a better dancer than producer and a better producer than rapper.
I mean, both of these are true. I wouldn't say he was great at any of them.
Okay.
But I don't know that Diddy actually ever made beats. I think he was one of those producers like, say, Dr. Dre, who hired people to make beats for him and then put his name on.
Well,
I mean, and I know for sure.
So we've got
know for sure that he didn't write a lot of lyrics because one of his lyrics even includes the phrase, "I don't write rhymes, I write checks."
Well, okay, first off, you're assuming that he wrote that one.
No, he absolutely didn't, because it's on the record that Pharoah Monch fucking co-wrote, and you could tell because all of a sudden P. Diddy is talking about, like, whether it's in coupes or Lexuses is something in the Nexuses and
right,
extremely sexist and I don't know.
All right, so if I get got as a result of this episode, we'll know it's the Parrot Heads. If Jay gets got as a result of this episode, we'll know it's Diddy.
Or his legion of fans that still exist for sure.
Oh, definitely. Those Diddy stands you see everywhere.
I think Press Play was the album that Pharoah Monch wrote most of, and it just sounds like Diddy reading Pharoah Monch lyrics because he has such a unique rhyme scheme, I would say, and it's pretty interesting because he can barely keep up with the stuff he's supposed to be doing. It's the one Diddy album I like. Other than, I guess, that very first one that was Puff Daddy and the Family that had, like, all the big hits when Biggie was still alive and stuff.
I only like the one that he did for the Godzilla soundtrack that includes possibly my favorite
Come with me.
verse of all time.
Come with
damn
me.
my enemies, damn my foes, damn these hoes, they're stepping on my toes.
I can tell there's absolutely nothing worse when it comes to rap songs written specifically for movies than one I just experienced, which is the Eminem Venom theme song during the end credits.
Eminem and Venom is kind of fun to say, though.
Yeah, but I mean, oh my God. He's like, I'm a symbiote. I'm a venom. I'm up in him. It's the worst. It's the fucking worst. Anyway, sorry. digression over.
Venom wasn't good.
Oh, yeah, by the way, not a good movie. I watched it because I have a rule. I'll watch anything that's filmed in San Francisco. That one was a mistake. Okay, over
You've
to
had a
you.
rough couple of years because there's been this whole genre of movies where either real or, well, either shot here or labeled as here got totally rubbleized, and I think it happened in all of the Planet of the Apes reboots.
Yeah, but one of those was, I felt like a clever little commentary because a lot of the apes lived in what was very obviously
Marin.
a half-finished Salesforce tower, which made me really happy. But also that movie with The Rock about the earthquake. San Francisco gets destroyed.
San Andreas.
Yeah.
I think it happened in the Godzilla reboot.
Yeah, we've been getting turned to rubble a lot lately, but I prefer the ones that were actually shot here, like the modern remake of On the Road, which also sucked, and Venom, which sucked even worse. Okay, your low point.
So, this is hard to talk about. Oliver, the father, is not in the picture, but he comes around a lot and seems to be staying with mom when he does come around. And the book is a little harder on a divorced dad than you kind of expect for a lighthearted, dumb romp like this. Here's one line that I meant. So dad's away at work. Oliver's away at work. He's called Barley. God, I just cannot get my head around the fact that his name is fucking Barley.
At least they didn't name his sister Hops.
Yeah, was malt taken?
Yeah.
Like spring water wasn't available. We finally got to talk about the state championship, and Dad sprung his surprise on me. He was coming to town and taking me to the game. He also mentioned that since the Red Bulls were in first place, he was working on our playoff tickets. I didn't let myself get too excited about that. I just checked my watch and figured it was way past midnight in Iceland. Mom had always told me to never count on anything my dad said after midnight.
So does Dad have a coke problem, or does he just get real drunk, or like, yeah, that's a weird sentence.
Either way, it's just a very harsh-ass sentiment. There's one other. Let me find it.
I wonder if Jimmy Buffett, like myself, grew up without a dad, because that feels like something I would have written. Like, Dad said he was going to take me to Pizza Hut, but then he never showed up. Chapter 2.
Okay. Here's the introduction to this. This is on page 12. The New York Red Bulls are my favorite team, and I hope to play for them when I'm old enough. I was born in New York, although I don't remember much about living there.
Unfortunately, the New York Red Bulls do not play in New York. Continue.
I was only 3 when I left. So how did a future striker for the New York Red Bulls end up in Tennessee? To quote the title of a country song by Tammy Wynette, as 12-year-olds in 2008 couldn't get enough of doing.
Yeah.
It was DIVORCE. Back in the ancient days of the 70s when the song was popular. Pause for laugh. A family with just a mother and kids was called a broken home. Today, it is referred to as a single-parent family. Either way you slice it, it is still only half a loaf.
Yeah.
That's kind of dark. Like we're sitting in this room together, both of us children of divorce, as the phrase has it. I don't see 2 broken men in this room.
No, I see 2 gods amongst men. Gaze upon my works, all ye mighty, in despair.
Just bestriding the narrow earth like a fucking colossus.
Exactly. Okay.
So, yeah, miss me with this divorce is bad for kids shit, Mr. Buffet.
You know
actually, it probably is bad, but whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. Either way, I feel like I turned out just fine.
Yeah, exactly. It can be done. It adds difficulties. You don't have to be a dick about it, Jim.
I definitely turned out just fine. I host a podcast where I make fun of things.
Wow, wait. Would he even have a career if his name was Jim Buffett?
Jim Buffett?
Yeah.
I think the Jimmy is a very calculated move.
I think it's a pretty important part of the brand registered trademark.
It's weird too because like I have a rule personally where like I feel like I don't trust people over a certain age if they don't stop going by like Billy or Jimmy or Bobby and just become Bob, Jim, or Bill. But Jimmy Buffett has made a career out of it, so there you go.
But I mean, a certain youthful quality is an important part of the appeal.
Motherfucker is 74 years old, that just shocked the hell out of me.
I mean, that could not surprise me much less. His first big hit was, I mean, what? Margaritaville, I'm going to guess completely off the top of my head, 77?
If you include live albums too, he's released 41 albums.
Oh, I know that because the book jacket says the following. Among his many professional accomplishments, he has recorded more than 40 albums, most of which have been certified gold, platinum, or multi-platinum.
I mean, 41 albums is a lot. Like
he's toiling away in the salt shaker mines. Thank you.
Oh, good one.
Pause for applause.
All right.
Nobody's saying Jimmy Buffett doesn't put in work. Jimmy Buffett, the original rise and grind man out of FLA.
Call it, you got a lot of catching up to do.
Khaled does not have 20 albums that have been certified platinum.
No, but he the best forever, so that's all that matters.
Oh.
And I doubt Jimmy Buffett has ever Instagrammed himself getting lost on a fucking jet ski. Oh, okay, I need to compose myself because I'm about to talk about something very serious.
Oh, so we're staying here in the trough of the wave, our boat getting rocked from all sides by some kind of perfect storm of low points.
We are, because I mean, for the most part, I think Jimmy Buffett comes across in this, as an author, as a very affable dude with surprisingly progressive politics about things like veganism and there's some kind of light jabs at sexism, nothing really surprisingly like, whoa, that was out there, but, moderately left in the vein of like a Saturday Night Live sketch.
I disagree that he comes across in this as an author, but continue.
Yeah. However, at one point, a football goes missing, and our pig goes looking for the football. This still happens in Tennessee.
I hated this part so goddamn much.
And this is from Rumpy. I knew the ball was in one of three places: the trees, the trench, or the creek. The moment I started to climb up the tree where the ball had gone in, I was huffing and puffing. It was made worse by the scent of quiche baking. I blocked the aroma of grilled onions and bubbling cheese from my brain and hunted on. It should be mentioned.
How can you possibly block the aroma of grilled cheese and bubbling onions, or however it was, from your brain? I couldn't possibly.
Yeah, it should be mentioned Rumpy loves quiche, so this is a very, very difficult task. But
Rumpy's an eater.
Yeah. There was no sign of the ball in the trees above. That was good news, and I rummaged forward until I saw a berm snaking around the hill. It had to be the trench, and it surely would have stopped a ball from rolling down the hill. Here we go, folks. I felt the sadness of the loss that occurred here as soon as I stepped in the trench. The way I heard one of Barley's friends tell it, in one afternoon's battle, 3 Confederate generals and 900 boys were killed. They were buried by the woman who owned the land, and she wrote a personal letter to the parents of each boy. Places of death are not popular in the animal world. During the French Revolution, there were so many executions that the smell of human blood sent animals free. What the fuck is up with the Confederate apologia bullshit happening here? Like,
he's from the South.
I mean, so am I. But I don't consider it a tragedy when 3 Confederate generals and 900 fucking soldiers, not boys, die in the name of a war where they were fighting for the right to own people. Like, that just jumped right the fuck out at me, and I was like, what is going on? Like, oh, God, fuck, come on. Like, there are huge chunks of this book that explicitly reference Rumpy being mad about New Yorkers and their prejudice against pigs, but it's apparently okay to mourn the loss of Confederate fucking war dogs?
Up to and including a very distasteful moment where we had done a tour of the Statue of Liberty, and it had become clear to me that the promises on that were just for people, not for pigs.
Yeah, you don't get to write that in the same book where you refer to 900 Confederate fucking soldiers with weapons fighting for a completely unjust, a completely unjust and inhumane cause as boys who should be eulogized sadly, and then also get to fucking do the bring us your tempest toss thing and make it about pigs. Like, those two things should not exist in the same book. So that was my ultimate low point, was realizing, like, no matter how cool and chill Jimmy Buffett comes off, there's still some of that ignorant fucking Southern pride bullshit that a lot of people from the South will still try to peddle for you. Like, I am 95% positive Jimmy Buffett probably doesn't walk around using racist language and probably doesn't harbor ill will towards people of other nationalities or ethnicities, but he's still one of those motherfuckers that'll try to tell you that the rebel flag is about heritage, not hate. And like, it sucked me right out of enjoying the book and laughing at the dumb parts and right back into just being fucking angry. Ugh. Okay, anyway, I'm done now. Now I'm going to laugh at the dumb parts again. And I mean, it's two paragraphs, but it's two paragraphs that just reveal so much about the author's viewpoint that it was hard for me to get past.
Right.
All right, now that I'm done fuming, Clsn, do you have a high point?
Yeah, I really liked the politics. Oh, wait. I had enormous fun reading the author's note to this. That's in part because when we chose it, I happened to be at work, so I just grabbed the audiobook from the library and hit play immediately. And the reader had a lot of fun with it, and I was just walking to get coffee, so everything was great. And the author's note is one of the more fun things I've read this year, and it was actually a subsidiary low point, the hard left turn into Shitsville, which is to say the actual book Swine Not. It included stuff like this, and I don't know. I just fucking love this. This is Jimmy describing how he came to write this book. He's basically been given a short story by his friend Helen about her time living in a hotel, a 4-star hotel in New York, and having to hide her pig.
Oh.
So she's given him 25 pages and some illustrations.
By illustrations, you mean photographs of the pig.
They were listed as illustrations, so I shall honor the author's term.
Okay.
The next morning, just before sunrise, I made my cup of English breakfast tea and walked out of the silence of the house into the still dark morning.
Bullshit, Jimmy. You made a Bloody Mary. Anyway, keep going.
My usual route was down to the dock to smell the sea, then up the oyster shell driveway to my office to work. My job that morning, I thought, was to edit Helen's story and give it back to her with my advice about how to get it published. That would take me into mid-morning, and I would drop off the manuscript at her house on my way out to surf. Lindbergh said, "We are of the stars, and I believe and feel it, and have always looked up to them for guidance, whether I was trying to find my way across the ocean or into the yet unwritten pages of a story. Standing at the water's edge, I took in the view overhead of lingering planets and constellations still visible over the bay. My front yard, where the sea meets the sky, combined with the silence and beauty of the natural world at that hour of the day, has long created a thinking spot. Sometimes there are things in a story or a song that need to be worked out. Other times, I'm just waiting to be struck by some invisible asteroid of inspiration."
Oh, fuck, I hate that cut. Anyway.
It is a good way to go to work, especially when you don't really know what your job is.
Okay, cool.
That's fucking delightful.
It is.
I enjoyed that so much.
It actually makes me want to read. He has an autobiography called A Pirate Looks at 50, I believe, or A Pirate Looks at 40. And I kind of want to read that because he seems like, a pleasant weed dad who's introspective to a very large degree.
Also, that Lindbergh stars bit completely out of nowhere. Oh, my man. That wasn't just some English breakfast tea.
Yeah, but how come your
that
friend...
was some tea.
Yeah, some tea. A lid, perhaps?
Some electric lettuce.
Yeah. So how come your friend Helen doesn't get a co-writing credit on this book, though? That's my question.
Well, Jay, that's actually kind of a low point for me because what Jimmy Buffett was handed was a woman writing a story about her life in a fancy hotel. And what he did was take that story and write it to be about her son moving to New York and scoring the winning goal in a soccer game with interludes narrated by an anxious pig terrified of being abandoned by her family.
Yeah.
which is not maybe that awesome. But anyway, the author's note was a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. So, my last high point here is it's a very small one. I have actually a couple just auxiliary high points before I get to the big ones. Coach B.A. Boykin, who Mom has a disastrous date with, the football coach. At one point, he's described as being on TV, and they're not talking about football. They're talking about the fact that he plays drums in a country band, and he has a drum set that is, quote unquote, set up to look like a series of giant football helmets. And I want to see that drum set so bad now.
It's one of those cartoon moments because it really, like, when I was picturing that, I was really picturing those terrifying puppets from Land of Confusion, the Genesis video.
Oh, God, yeah.
And instead of football helmets, I was frankly picturing shrunken human heads.
See, I was thinking of, I don't know if you've ever seen North drums, but they're the ones that were kind of shaped like bells. Instead of being straight up and down, they had a curvature to project the sound forward.
I don't like it.
They were really cool looking. They were very popular in the late 70s. I was imagining that.
I resent it. I reject it. I will have nothing to do with it.
I almost guarantee you that Blue Oyster Cult dude played them at some point, and you'll have to go back on your
Albert Bouchard. Oh, Bouchard, not Boucher. Never mind.
Yeah.
So I don't care.
But yeah, they were very popular. I had a set that I inherited from my absentee father for a while, but they were in horrible shape. But yeah, either way, I was imagining those, but with face masks at the end of the bells.
I was just imagining, like, I think if they weren't actual shrunken heads, I was imagining just big fake shells glued over the actual normal drum.
My other auxiliary, just real short high point, is this one sentence. Dinner unfolded like a yummy fruit roll-up.
Oh, I hated that so much.
It's so stupid.
Okay, for $5, who said that?
That would be Rumpy.
You were right. You were right. Damn it.
Well, everything's yummy when you're Rumpy. But my actual high point here is that, as we discussed, a major plot point is that they're in a hotel that they're not allowed to have a pig at. And so the kids attempt to hide the pig and take it for walks around the roof of the house on top of the hotel that they live in, which we haven't even mentioned. Oh, yeah, they live in a house on top of a skyscraper.
A glass-walled house.
They refer to it as the fish tank several times, and the kids have to sneak the animals out, the pig out, so it won't get caught. And luckily, Maple is a fashion designer, and she creates a quote-unquote all-black spandex spy outfit for the pig. And that visual made me laugh uproariously. It also made me think of Catherine Zeta-Jones ducking through laser beams, which is not funny at all and actually rules. So that was a high point. Was A, funny concept. B, reminded me of a movie I need to watch again.
The other amazing thing that we haven't mentioned yet, and I'm surprised that this wasn't one of your low points, was there's a rapper who stays in the hotel. What is that rapper's name, Jay?
Royalty, but I don't think she's supposed to be a rapper. I think she's supposed to be like Lady Gaga.
She's an ex-Disney princess turned pop star.
Yeah, I don't think she was supposed to be a rapper.
But pop stars don't spell their names funny, Jay. Come on, get with the culture.
Dude, fucking
not one non-rapper spells their name in a funny way. Okay. So let's play a song and we'll come back in a minute.
Yeah, we do need to take a break.
Not one non-rapper.
Exactly. Definitely not one. But we're going to take a break. But before we do, I want to introduce what we're about to play here.
So wait, so we're going to play a song?
Yeah. And what we're going to do is we're going to play a song rather than a normal interstitial piece. We're going to play something that I worked on for about 4 or 5 hours this morning for some ungodly reason. There is a poem in this book entitled Ladies Please, which is written by Barley, and it's on the fridge because Barley, defying gender roles.
Barley's a neatnik.
He is a neatnik. The 2 women of the household, or the 3 women of the household if you include... I keep wanting to say Burley. If you include Rumpy, are not.
4 women of the household if you include Syrup. I'm tired of your cat erasure.
Sorry, this book is guilty of cat erasure, though. But basically, it's a Jimmy Buffett song with no music. So I decided I was going to make music for it. I woke up this morning pretty early. I drove to get my once monthly McDonald's breakfast, and I did some musical research on the way there, listening to Jimmy Buffett songs, tried to encapsulate the essence of what one would sound like, and created this masterpiece. So for the next 2 minutes, please enjoy my rendition of Ladies, Please.
Oh my God.
And by the way, Clsn has not heard this yet.
A kitchen occupied by pigs is nothing like those normal digs. The system must incorporate a craze with hunger vertebrate. A thing routinely left intact might well become a piggy snack. Her snout has powers unsurpassed, and never would she choose to fast. Guests arriving at our door are warned to keep bags off the floor, since any package that arrives, our pig could easily pulverize. Her jaws are crushed through any box containing candy, soap, or locks, and purses bearing one Altoid most indiscreetly get destroyed. Those kitchens where a pig patrols have quirky rules and complex goals. Garbage is a tempted feast, so trash is kept well out of reach. A cook knows any pinch of food can titillate the piggy's mood. Stems and cores, stalks and peels, recycle into stellar meals. When backs are turned, she strikes a greed and runs at cheap and shocking speed. She punctures all straight cans of beer and licks them up with rising cheer. The glass of wine left on the floor she drains and slips into a snore. Impulses of our precious swine are far from easy to divine. Handful of our frequent guests she loves, while others she detests. We welcome and appreciate the few who think our pig is great. So bright and winning from the start, a constant hunger drives her heart, which makes it hard to reprimand. The pig we love, a shark of land. The pig we love, a shark of land. The pig we love, a shark of land. The pig we love, a shark of land.
Woohoo! I'm a musical genius. Look out, Jimmy Buffett. 250 some odd more of those tracks, and I'm coming up on your tail.
That's it, everybody. I see no reason for us to continue. We've just crested. It's all downhill from here.
I really liked the superfluous and completely out of place steel drums, which I kind of consider a hallmark of any good Jimmy Buffett song.
It just, you're on the beach when you hear the steel drums. You can see the bonfire. You're thinking about surfing, and it just gives you that nautical seafaring vibe that you need to tell a story about a pig in a hotel.
Or eat some frozen mozzarella sticks, which you can also do under the Jimmy Buffett Margaritaville brand.
Oh my God. Okay. Question.
Yes.
About the Jimmy Buffett brand.
Yes.
Are there chicken tenders available?
I'm sure there are. It's all the same shit that TGI Friday sells frozen versions of.
And what is Rumpy's favorite food?
Oh shit, chicken tenders. It's a tie-in.
Oh my God, is this just content marketing for the Jimmy Buffett frozen meal empire?
It could be. I'm not sure whether this book predates it or not, but you're right. Rumpy loves chicken tenders.
What about frozen pizzas?
I don't believe so, but I do believe...
He's got to have a fucking frozen Hawaiian. You know he does.
Yeah, probably. I was going to say, I do believe there are potato skids which contain bacon, which is completely against everything put forth in this book.
Come on! First off, we've got bacon. We've got that lobster omelet that has really stuck in my craw. So Obviously, Mr. Buffett, no friend to our Jewish population.
That's true. He likes shellfish and the cloven hoof. Buffett, I'm disappointed in you.
And
It's cool. My friend that used to smoke his weed, he's a Jew too, so we're getting our revenge. One pinched fucking eighth at a time.
And you know that omelet had cheese on it. You're not supposed to put that with anything, much less shellfish, jerk.
Yeah, I wonder, how does the milk plates and meat rule work? Which, well, it doesn't, because you're not supposed to eat shellfish. Never mind.
Yeah.
Let's play some games.
So it'd be like the worst thing you could do. I had a Jewish friend, who every Yom Kippur would go have a bacon cheeseburger. He's like, the two things you're not supposed to have together, plus the thing you're never supposed to have.
Yeah, the milk plates and the meats, plus the cloven hoof. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, wow, Tim, you're a real rebel Jew, you know that?
Us reformish Jews,
Yeah.
we really like to rub it in the faces of the ultra-Orthodox.
So, like, I guess if you
I don't even wear fucking payouts either. So.
What?
And I doubt you've ever seen me in a wide-brimmed black hat.
But it really made me wonder, like, yeah, where do you go from there? Because he'd figured that out by his early 20s. Like, what is he doing now? Is he putting, like, some breaded garlic shrimp on top of that bacon cheeseburger?
If he's anything like me, he's just now covered in occultish tattoos.
That would be cool as hell.
Okay. Let's start out here with the rumpiest segment in podcasting history. This is Dramatic Readings.
Dramatic readings. We're gonna make it sound important. Dramatic readings. Yeah, I got some words for you.
I can't say the word rumpy without just dying laughing. I don't know why.
And completely on brand. Rumpy, you do stupid things.
I know. We probably should close the episode by saying it stinks, but I feel like we have to do it now, otherwise people won't get the joke. So
We'll do both. Let's do both.
okay,
Let's do both.
Well, for now, it stinks.
And if you'd like to, go ahead and hit pause right now and go ahead and listen to the best song, the second best song I've ever heard, which includes the phrase, flying over trout. Sack of monkeys in my pocket.
Is that Jimmy Buffett?
No, that's the parody song from Pod
Oh,
People.
idiot control now.
Idiot control.
Wow,
now.
it says a lot about Jimmy Buffett that I could confuse Mystery Science Theater parody lyrics with an actual fucking song from like Changes in Attitude, Changes in Latitude. I mean, literally, he has a song called Something About a Boat, which I heard for the first time today.
How is
and
it?
It's not bad, but when I was, tuning up my vocals for that song that you just heard, I was singing Something About a Pig just to make sure I was in the right key.
Also, something about a boat. That's like what you write on the set list when the actual title of the song, like on the album, is too long and cumbersome or is just some stupid in joke, and you revert to the name that you called it in rehearsal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Like Love Song or like, yeah.
It's like visibly a placeholder.
Yeah, very much. I mean, and so are the lyrics.
Ouch.
He's written some pretty amazing lyrics, though, but we don't need to get into this.
For
any
example,
farther.
I'm on a boat. Not everybody knows. Made famous by Lonely Planet, but that song came out in 1972 as one of Jimmy Buffett's first songs.
Not actually true, but it does encapsulate the vast majority of his catalog, which is, I'm on a boat, bitch. So,
Take a
there
good
you go.
look at me. I'm on a motherfucking boat.
Yep. Why don't you go ahead and start us off with your dramatic reading?
Okay, so this is Rumpy hiding in a custom...
Rumpy.
Rumpy. This is Rumpy hiding in a custom-modified dirty dish trolley that she uses to sneak around the hotel.
Like a fake room service cart.
Right. She's on the elevator. Then, as the number 3 button lit up, I smelled cigarette smoke. When the door opened, I thought I was going to have a heart attack right there in that little box. The butcher stepped on the elevator.
Le Boucher.
But it got worse. Ellie was right behind him. I was starting to feel like a baked ham. Well, hello, she said with a surprised look. Boucher was his usual dismissive self. Monsieur Boucher, I would like you to meet my children. This is Barley, And this is Maple. The kids were silent. When I had watched him in the shadows of the roof and had passed him in the revolving door, I'd felt his cold heart more than I had really seen him. Now, close up, he was more menacing than ever. His face was covered in acne scars, and his jawbone jutted out like a barracuda's. His long black coat was drenched with the smell of garlic and tobacco. And he was smoking on the elevator.
Sacre bleu.
"Say hello, children," Ellie urged. The kids said hello politely to Boucher the way twins do. At the same time. "Barley and Maple? What kind of freakish names are those? And what are you grommets doing down here anyway?" Ellie looked shocked at Boucher's sharp words, and I guess I expected the kids to share the same panic I was feeling. But boy, was I wrong. Maple answered calmly, "Our cat got out, and one of the housekeepers told us she saw her in the laundry room. Maybe she fell into a stew pot or was chased by that new dog of yours," Boucher snapped, and then laughed at his own sick joke. "What idiot left his table in the elevator?" I could see his beady eyes looking my way, and I prayed to the pig gods that he didn't see a pair of eyes looking back at him. "I don't believe you are supposed to be smoking in an elevator," I heard Barley say from behind the table. Boucher immediately took his eyes off the table and shot a menacing glance back at Barley. Ellie's mouth was still open, but the distraction worked. Boucher smashed the butt of his cigarette into the salad above my head. The door opened, and the bell rang.
I admire your restraint.
I just
Because
love Boucher's villainy.
If that was me, I would be doing the most obnoxious French accent every time Boucher talked. There was a part I really wanted to read for a dramatic reading, but I think we've had enough of evil Boucher.
Oh,
But
I don't think we have.
There's a part where it's actually not even translated in the book. He yells in French. I'm not going to try to say it in French because my accent is horrible. But what he essentially says is, "Today the pig, tomorrow the sausage," while he's attacking the pig with hedge clippers.
That's so fucking hot. Gas-powered hedge trimmers.
Which mostly I just recognize because my French-Canadian grandmother used to call me cochon all the time when I would eat a lot.
That's adorbs.
Yeah, it's adorbs if you like calling children pig and shaming them for eating. Anyway.
I mean, grandmas, there's different rules for grandmas, I feel.
I was le petit cochon in that side of my family, so yeah.
We haven't quite talked about how cartoonish the climax, and I use that term as lightly and loosely as possible, of this is, where literally a pig disguised as a dog is running around the zoo. There's an impromptu fire right after a rainstorm for it's relevant to the plot reasons, and a clueless old lady can't feel or hear the fire behind her. So the pig has to grab her by her fur coat and yank her out of harm's way.
And become a celebrity.
This is immediately after being attacked by a French chef screaming in French.
Screaming, "Today the pig, tomorrow the sausage."
While brandishing gas-powered hedge trimmers.
Yes, and it turns out the old lady is the mayor's mother, I believe.
Yeah.
And the pig becomes a hero. Everybody in the world now knows the pig and her twin brother, who she's discovered. And then the whole family gets to do whatever they want. Hooray, 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 hooray.
Does that sound awesome? It does.
Yeah, it does.
Is the execution awesome?
No.
It is not.
And sorry. So this leads into my dramatic reading. I'm pretty excited about this because this is after all of those events. The tone between Rumpy and Barley is identical. You can't really tell which is which.
And both of them talk like a pig and a kid really do. No, wait.
Yeah.
They talk like a middle-aged man would.
Well, this is Barley, and he's talking about kind of wrapping things up towards the end. This has not been a hibernation winter for the McBride family, and a recap might be in order.
Oh, God damn it.
I guess I better start with the aftermath of Monsieur Boucher's attempted attack on Rumpy. Of course, the local gossip rags had a field day with the story of our pet pig's rescue of the mayor's mother and Boucher's violent behavior, but it only lasted a few days until the next outlandish, headline-producing event came along, which involved Royal T's hockey-playing boyfriend punching a photographer. In this town, there's never a long wait for splashy news. Mr. Flutebine did fire the hunchback from Hackensack. That's La Boucher. But Boucher did not go to jail. My mom was not seeking revenge. She stayed calm and reminded us that you have to look for some good in every bad person or situation. Here's how she handled the problem with Boucher. First, she consulted with us, and then we unanimously agreed not to press charges. Instead, we requested that the mayor require Monsieur Boucher to do 8 weeks of community service. We asked that he split his time between the park zoo and the animal shelter near our school. 2 weeks into his new job, a kind of miracle occurred. Mom went by one day to see how he was doing and to bring him a slice of spinach quiche. Over lunch, Boucher apologized to her for scaring her daughter. Then, in a tearful confession that had Mom searching her purse for tissues, the hunchback told Mom that he had grown up in a dark, depressing neighborhood in Paris. More than anything in the world, he had loved to go to the zoo and the park, and as a child, he had desperately wanted to have a pet, any pet. But year after year, his parents would never allow it. In some twisted way, he developed an extreme jealousy of children who had pets, and it only got worse when the family moved to Hackensack, New Jersey, where it seemed that every single child he met had at least one dog or cat. His seething resentment festered into a hatred of all animals and children. He begged Mom's forgiveness, and she accepted his heartfelt apology. After finishing his community service, he stayed and worked at the animal shelter for the rest of the winter, and with Mom's encouragement, he attended classes to become a vegan chef. Just last week, he got a job at a restaurant in Woodstock. He finally got his first pet. Actually, 2 of them. Orphan German Schnauzers from the shelter he had grown to love. He stopped by the hotel for a visit and then headed for Woodstock with his van and his new family of dogs that he absolutely was not going to kill and make into food at some point.
I'm sorry, where was he from when he relocated from France?
Paris.
No, where did he relocate to?
Hackensack.
I'm sorry, where?
Hackensack, New Jersey.
I'm sorry, where?
Hackensack.
Hackensack.
Oh, you're right. It's true. He worked too hard and he had a heart attack.
I don't know why that made me laugh, but...
Is that in there? I think he only does heart attack and Cadillac.
I think he does Hackensack.
If not, he should. Billy.
And the urinals did... And if you haven't mashed that up yourself, then you're not as good as this DJ Milk Crate in the fucking house.
Now I want to take a version of fucking Anthony's song and just have it. Work it so hard, I'll give you a heart attack, and just go on for 20 minutes like that.
To do that appropriately, it sounds like you'd need to do a little gack.
Probably, or I'd get bored real fast.
Yeah, and you got to be ready for the critics who are going to call it whack.
Yep, that's true. But you know what? I'd end up loaded with stacks and stacks, so it's cool. Virality.
You'd have to throw them in the back in your shack.
In my love shack? I just learned, speaking of which, Cactus Jack, the notorious McFoley, whose autobiography I sometimes read from when there's nothing good to read from a book and dramatic readings, he got his catchphrase, bang, bang, from the song Love Shack.
And some look at McFoley and say, whew, looking like a snack.
Looking like a snack or a man in a brown paper sack. Anyway. But now we're back to rhyming sack with sack. Let's move on. Let's do another game here. I have one I am very, very proud of. So we need to do this. This is What Is Your Fave?
What is your fave? What is your fave? When you're presented with a list of options, what is your fave?
All right, so what is your fave? Oh, refreshing beverage.
That is one of my faves.
It's for me today, it's Bud Light because we're reading Jimmy Buffett. So I knew I was going to need to drink a lot of beers. Landshark is not available here.
I'm a little sad that I didn't get here and see some fake palm trees.
Maybe I'd be wearing a fucking lei for no reason.
Pair of flip-flops. The only thing wrong
you will never see me in flip-flops, sir.
The only thing wrong
I
with
have
you,
dignity.
you drinking Bud Light is it's not out of a cooler filled with ice.
That's true. Okay, so what is your fave? I am going to be literal this time around, too.
Okay.
We'll also explain why I interrupted one of your digressions earlier, because I think you'll begin to understand as we go through this. So I'm going to present you with a list of options. And you're going to tell me...
Just like the song says?
Yeah. What is your fave passage in this book that seems like Jimmy Buffett workshopping a lyric? Is it, I love to move at the speed of dreams? I was an orphan on an island? Oh, to be a pig with wings? Fame can produce a caravan of the curious.
Fuck.
First injection, then convection, then I roast it to perfection. Back to the fish tank in my 5-star prison. Now I understand why they call these storm pockets of low pressure. I was feeling both low and pressure. And a sensation with ventilation, which is, of course, a reference to the pig's sheepdog costume.
Oh, I thought that was about, well, sometimes you eat something that doesn't fully agree with you.
Yeah. But yeah, your low pressure thing was right in my list because that felt very much to me like a Jimmy Buffett lyric half finished.
1,000%. That is definitely my favorite. There was one. Can I see your list?
Yeah.
Okay, so first off, number one by a million, like the low pressure. I'm feeling both low and pressure. Like I said, that really hit me. I like that a lot. Back to the fish tank in my 5-star prison was pretty good, but I don't feel like Jimmy Buffett writes a lot of songs about being trapped by his fame. That seems a little out of character for him.
I guess you're right. Yeah, he's the kind of dude who does like meet and greets and whatnot.
Yeah, Orphan on an Island definitely. That's the sadder side of old JB.
Of which there is a lot. As I said this morning, I was just skipping through Jimmy Buffett songs. He writes a lot of sad ballads.
Yeah.
He also, however, writes a lot of raucous rockers, and I really wanted to just read these lyrics before we go any further.
Okay, before we get there though.
Okay.
So those are my favorites. Which was your favorite? And then I've got a follow-up question.
My favorite was definitely Orphan on an Island.
Orphan on an Island?
Yeah.
Okay. Follow-up question. Which do you think is most likely, sight unseen, actually to be a Jimmy Buffett song?
Have to look at the list again. But I'm probably going to say To Be a Pig with Wings.
Oh, to me it's Move at the Speed of Dreams. That sounds to me like something that I would hear at a Jimmy Buffett show.
Yeah, for sure. If it's not already from someone else's song.
You know, and I lean down and give my girl a smooch because that's a song and a lyric that's always meant a lot to us.
Yeah.
You know?
Well,
And
speaking of lyrics,
I couldn't believe he played it, but he fucking played it.
He did. I didn't think he was going to do it, but he did. Speaking of lyrics, I just wanted to share this with the audience so you know exactly what you're getting when you listen to a Jimmy Buffett song. One of the songs I came across this morning I had never heard before is called Bama Breeze. It's about a bar that Jimmy Buffett goes to a lot, apparently. And it says, at the Bama Breeze, you could drink some beer down there, argue, laugh, and cheer down there, pass another year down there. And here's where it gets great. Jimmy got caught smoking a joint out behind the bar, sitting in his car, and they took him to jail. The tip jar paid his bail. In 1984, Mick Jagger passed through town, bought the whole house around, signed his name on the wall in the ladies' bathroom stall. Yeah. Yes. At the Bama Breeze, you can act a fool down there. Play some pool down there. something.
Wipe some drool down there.
Yeah.
Don't order a Moscow Mule down there.
Because this bar's all about whiskey and rock and roll. Some motherfucker just ordered a bottle of Zima. He's getting kicked out of the Bama Breeze.
The waitress can get a little cruel down there, but we all like her and respect her journey down there.
Second set, the owner, Lulu, gets up with the band, a beer in her hand, and sings Freebird slow. Then she raises a toast. Here's to Ronnie and the boys.
Wait, she sings Freebird slow. Jesus Christ. Like,
yeah, so Freebird doesn't need to be any slower than it already is.
It's not exactly like a rave up.
Yeah, also it's very weird that she raises a toast to Ronnie and the boys, who I assume she means Leonard Skinner.
No, Ronnie James Dio.
Yeah, better. I like your version better. But
she's eclectic, is
Yeah.
Lulu.
just, raise a toast to a completely unrelated band.
Yeah. Well, she's a little scattered. She's how many bar owners have you drunk with?
That's true. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, moving on.
That was pretty fun. Jay, I have a game I'm a little proud of as well.
All right. Well, let's do it.
And the name of that game is What Would They Do?
Sometimes intentions are hard to define, and others the clear as day. So tell me, what would they do?
Oh, what would they do?
What would they do?
What would I do?
In this case, yes. All right, Jay. You're Ellie, and you've had one too many glasses of Chablis, probably with Lulu down at Bama's, and you've let Oliver climb back up into your bunk bed for a little game of hide the absolutely not pork sausage, and all of a sudden, you've got you a definitely not a pig fetus in the definitely not a cookin' type oven. Your twins are named Barley and Maple. Your pets are named Syrup and Rumpy. So, Ellie, what do you name your new child?
Oh, this is a great question. I mean, the obvious answer is hops, because you've already got barley. And I think we alluded to that earlier. But I want to go out in left field a little bit, and I'm going to go for a different food-related name.
Okay.
Wellington.
Ooh.
Wellington if it's a boy. If it's a girl, let's say Posey.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
That's not bad. Although I think I would have gone with Maple and Syrup and gone either Flappy if it was a girl or Jack if it was a boy.
Oh, that's a good one. If it's twins, you could have maple syrup flapjacks.
If it was twins, it would be Eggo and Lego.
The kids' names in this book are so fucking stupid. And I apologize. Maybe somebody out there listening is named Barley or Maple. And if that's the case, that's fine. But having twins and naming them Barley and Maple at the same time is just, that's some fucking obnoxiously precious shit.
The other problem with it is this book is rife with the word twins. And because I have brain problems, every single time it happened, I thought, and twins.
And not, you didn't think of Arnold Schwarzenegger?
I never saw that movie.
Oh, yeah, you didn't miss much.
I don't think he's at his best in comedies. There, I said it.
Really?
Look.
The guy who spent half of his career speaking English phonetically, not super great with comic timing? I agree.
It's just not how I like to see him used.
But he's a cop, you idiot.
I like my comedians short, nebbishy, and easily bullied.
Yeah. Actually, I'm with you there. Well, we're running pretty long, so let's go ahead and take another break, and then we'll come back and finish up with some extra business. All right, so we've just finished talking about Babe, Pig in the City, as written by an incredibly drunk man in a hammock.
Hey-o! I thought it was Charlotte's Web, misremembered by an old man who hasn't read it in a long time, but does name drop that his boat was built by E.B. White's child.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Hey, cool. So now's the part of
That boat's name? Tall Cotton.
Oh.
But doesn't come with a 3-paragraph defense of, not my favorite name, but it's hard to change the name of a boat for superstitious sailor-related reasons.
That's some bullshit, man. That's like people who name their cars.
Be very, very... Tread lightly, my friend.
Okay.
You may be talking to somebody who
All
has
right.
named every car he's ever been in, much less had custody of.
You can't rename a pet You can rename inanimate objects all you want, I feel like. I had a friend who had names for his guitars, and I made fun of him so much about that.
That friend? Wes Borland.
All his guitars were she, and it was really weird and kind of creepy, and they all had names like Sheila and Lulubelle and stuff like that.
Are you friends with B.B. King?
Actually, I was.
Wow! That's amazing.
You just gotta coax the right sounds out of her, and she sings, man.
Exactly. Stroke her right, and she'll treat you well. Touch her wrong, and you won't believe what happens.
I shudder just thinking of this. Anyway, this is the part of the show where we talk about things that don't make us shudder. And
This is the part of the show where we don't talk about how men in Western civilization like to name things they own / are important to them women's names, like countries, boats, occasionally guitars.
Yeah, and then continue to objectify them even further by speaking about them only in the most sexually suggestive of terms.
Yay!
Yeah, so let's go ahead and recommend stuff that we liked.
I was cheering,
instead.
not talking about that for the record.
Good. I'm glad. I figured. I'll go ahead and go first. Admittedly, I am not done with this because I spent a good amount of time just laughing my ass off at this book. But I'm reading a book called The Infinite Blacktop, a novel by Sarah Gran, which is in a series of books based on a character named Claire DeWitt. It takes place over 3 different time periods in Oakland, New York City, and in Los Angeles. And it's about a private detective who is a woman who gets interested in the business by reading private detective comics as a kid and soon discovers that there's a much darker side of things. I bring this up, also it was in my notes. I forgot that I had taken a break from this to read, or taken a break from Jimmy Buffett's book to read this. And then when I opened my electronic reading device, I got to a point where I was like, wow, this is supposed to be a kid's book, but this is kind of adult, because the paragraph I started reading was the narrator walking down the streets of LA at night, wondering if walking was considered a fetish in Los Angeles, and if any rich man would pay just to see her walking in high heels, which A, would not belong in a book about Rumpy,
Right.
and B, the answer is probably yes.
Yeah, expecting to read Amiable Pig Book and running yourself headlong into somebody musing about fetishes when, as I think it was Missing Persons once taught us, no one walks in L.A.
Yeah. No, I mean, literally, like, I was like, whoa, this just got really adult for a children's book. And then I realized, oh, shit, I was reading a different book the last time I opened my reading device. So that's one of the hazards of not reading hardback or, at least physical copies of books, is there's a very good chance you're going to think you're reading about a very clever pig, and you're actually reading about a wily private detective. Anyway, what's your recommendation?
So I've got 2. I was going to recommend an actual book, but I was unable to finish it, so I'm not going to recommend that. I am instead going to recommend 2, yes, that's right, articles I read on the internet recently. The first is a very popular thing that's been making the rounds. You probably have read it already, but if you haven't, you should. It is called How Millennials Became the Burnout Generation. It's by Anne Helen Peterson. It's good, not great. There's a lot in it that I think we have to wrestle with. There's a lot not in it that I think we have to wrestle with, and there's some things that are gotten wrong. So what I am recommending is that you read it and think about it, not that you read it and agree with every syllable in it. As a companion piece, there's an old article that I thought was very, very similar. And by old, I mean set the Wayback Machine to 2013.
Oh.
If you can remember that far back.
Heady years.
I think I was just a gleam in my daddy's eye in that far-flung past. And that was called Why I Make Terrible Decisions, or Poverty Thoughts. And it was by a woman whose name I believe is Linda Tirado. And I will link both of these in the show notes so you can kind of wrap your brain around them and figure out who we are, how we got here, and what the fuck we're supposed to do about it. There's been some questions about what are the show notes? Where are the show notes? Your podcatcher may not show them. If you ever want to know what the show notes were for a particular episode, go to the website, idon'tevenownaTelevision.com, and look up the episode, scroll down. There's always plenty of material down at the bottom there, links, other information, and that's what I mean.
Yeah, the podcatcher that you use should show that, but a lot of them suck. So, you might be missing out on this information.
Yeah.
I'd also like to recommend an article that does not exist yet, but should, so maybe somebody can write it, called Can We Stop Fucking Talking About Generational Cohorts Already? But that's just me.
That is actually a really good point. I think the Peterson article in particular is framed about a certain kind of millennial experience, but I'm not a millennial. A lot of it pertained to me. A lot of it has to do with being in the job market in a specific historical moment. And it is not merely millennials who are entering a specific job market or existing in that job market. So yeah, that's a good catch. I think actually the only thing that really binds millennials together is a certain inexplicable, inexorable urge to hate read articles with the word millennial in the title.
I'm just saying, look, I'm going to be 40 in 5 months. If I lose my job, I'm fucked and living on the streets. This is not a unique proposition based on age. This is called late capitalism, and it has very little to do with how old you are.
That's why I linked to the article in 2013 as well,
Yeah.
because it's less explicitly about the experience of a specific cohort and more about the specific experiences of the markets as they run.
I'm sure we're going to get a lot of mail about this, and actually this is a discussion I'm willing to fucking listen to, and I'm not just going to knee jerk about, but I do think it's important to realize that we're all kind of fucked right now. Anyway, on that happy note, why don't we get into some correspondence from people who listen to the show and enjoy it?
Probably many of whom are fucked.
Some of your friends may already be this fucked,
fucked,
even if they haven't won a 7-card Omaha fucking tournament. Deep pull. Okay, so this is letters.
A, letter B, letter C, letter D, letter E, letter F, letter G, letter, got a lot of letters.
This is a letter from Adam, fake last name, but probably wouldn't mind us saying it, but I'll just say he's one of the Adams we follow on Twitter. If you'd like to find him. And is related. There aren't any other podcasts, but if there were, he might be a regular contributor to the old F+.
Yeah, and you might have a problem with this letter, which specifically mentions another podcast. But anyway.
No such, I like fiction.
Yeah, that's true.
I can imagine things that don't exist.
So it should mention that this arrived right around Christmas time, with a package that included some things that are described in this letter, and it warmed my cold Grinch-like heart. So, here we go.
Dear Jay and Collision, enclosed you should find one copy of The Wrestling Album, starring the superstars of the World Wrestling Federation as it was known then. This LP features a lot of great moments, including running commentary from Vince McMahon, Mean, Gene Okerlund, and Jesse the Body Ventura, as he was known then. There's a lot to love on this album-like object, including the bizarre choices as to which WWF All-Stars appeared on the album. Nikolai Volkov wraps up the album with a cover of Cara Mia by Jay and the Americans. Jimmy Hart, the Mouth of the South, does his best Rick Springfield impression in an original song titled Eat Your Heart Out, Rick Springfield.
I fucking love that so much.
My absolute favorite track, though, is Captain Lou Albano singing his biographical song by the New Rhythm and Blues Quartet, as they were known then, and produced by Cyndi Lauper, credited under the pseudonym Mona Flambe. I've also included some merchandise of my own, some pins and cards from my podcast, Left-Handed Radio. It is not a humorous, topic-based, banter-filled yuck-fest like I Don't Even Own a Television. It is a sketch comedy show. I think it would appeal to both Clsn and Jay, as it has a lot of great comedy bits similar to those you would find on a Monty Python album or in between tracks on a 1990s hip-hop album.
So I'm expecting to hear at least 3 examples of Big Pun getting his dick sucked.
Keep feeding you and feeding you and feeding you. This is my small way of saying thank you for writing the crab so we don't have to. Keep up the great work and keep it posy. It's still real to me, damn it. Adam, fake last name.
So thank you for the wonderful letter and the merchandise and also the wrestling album, which I have listened to exactly once. It's a wonderful novelty, I'll tell you that. The cover is entertaining as hell. Hoo boy, most of those guys cannot sing. Although I will say that Jimmy Hart's Eat Your Heart Out Rick Springfield is one of the most bitter songs I've ever heard in my entire life, and worth a cursory Google for sure.
And just to keep this an all J-related letters section, and if you would like to balance the scales karmically, please write us a letter about professional hockey within the next week of hearing this. Here's another letter by Christopher, fake last name, Bedhead. I don't know if this is interesting to anybody, but given that Jay mentioned Bedhead, I thought I'd chime in with this. Matthew Cadane of Bedhead was a professor of mine during my first semester. He introduced himself by saying, "Sorry I'm late. I didn't know this class was happening until 10 minutes ago." It was an excellent class about the history of original sin. I got an A+, and Cadane took us out for coffee. Keep up the great work, Chris, fake last name.
Well, I graduated from Harvard Yale College, and I got an A.
I got an A.
No, that's pretty awesome. I'm completely unsurprised that members of Bedhead went on to teach college because they were just that type of band that wore cardigans. Much like if you would tell me, say, one of your professors was in Yola Tango, that would not surprise me either. But that's a really, really cool story, and I'm kind of jealous.
A little bit, right?
Yeah, except I don't know, Bedhead makes me sad. So I don't know if I could even kind of look at him and not just be depressed.
What if he were up in front of you talking about the history of original sin?
Oh, well, that's some uplifting material that certainly would change my mind.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
So if you would like to write us, and again, I'm putting out the call, please write us about hockey so that next episode can be an all Clsn
Yeah, like
letters section.
Maybe send us an album of hockey players singing songs and or an email asking Clsn his opinion about, I think we've already had who the best forward was, it was the best American goalie, I believe. But, there's plenty of other positions that he could weigh in on.
Who amongst you has been taught a college course by a retired professional hockey player? Reach out to us and write about it at idon'tevenownaTelevision@gmail.com. If you'd like a much less likely way to reach us, and even less than that likely to get a response, you can find us on Twitter at IDEOTV Pod. We're also on Facebook. Under the same name, there's a thriving Facebook group called the I Don't Even Own a Television Fun Time Party Pit.
Which is, I'd say, out of all of those social media outlets, the ones where one of the two of us are the most likely to respond to input without just blocking you or shouting at you.
Or just chime in and have a good time. It's a great place to have fun with other like-minded folks, and we're there sometimes, but it runs itself pretty well, and people seem to have a great time there. So go there, or email us.
Can I once again remind everyone at home, we love the fact that you listen to the show, and it means a lot to us, but you could also support the show at patreon.com/IDEOTVpod. If that's more your steez.
Why would I do that?
Maybe you're getting a lot of entertainment value, and you want to help keep the lights on, keep new mics happening, keep the new backup hard drive I just got so we don't lose any more episodes. Things like that.
But what's in it for me? The person who likes I Don't Even Own a Television, but wishes there were nearly a third more of it.
Well, you would get one bonus episode per month that sometimes is about a book, sometimes it's about a magazine, sometimes it's about a movie, sometimes it's an ill-conceived high-concept project that nobody seems to like except for us, but we won't talk about that. You're going to get a lot of extra content as well, even if you just follow us. But yes, at the $5 and up range, you get a full new episode every month.
Every single month. And it's the only way you'll get to hear us talk about Bunnicula.
That is true.
Spoiler, that book rules.
Yeah, Bunnicula is what this book was trying to be and failing miserably. And it's worth mentioning, too, if you sign up now and you donate at the $5 and above level, you get access to all the previous bonus episodes, which do include that Bunnicula episode.
And there's like 2.5 years of them there already.
Yeah, there's a lot. Like we're close to 30 now, so...
I think we're over 30. I fucked up the numbering, so it's
but who
unclear
cares?
to me how many there are. But, there's a lot. What I was going to do, if Jay had not already done an amazing song about it, I was going to read the poem as a bonus to everybody who contributes because I thought the poem was amazing. But then there was a better idea, so that happened. I may still steal out a choice morsel if I can root out the truffle of delight from this book and present it. So yeah, there's lots of extras over there. It really helps us out. It really makes us feel good and helps us get more done. So that's patreon.com/IDEOTVpod.
Make it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Until next time, ride the rumpy.
Get that fucking pig off the ledge.
All right, let's do it again. You come in late, girls, again, you're out, all right? All right, from the top. With a pickle mind, we kick the nipple beer. Steady as a goat, we're flying over trout. Ghetto down the highway at the speed of light. All I want to feel now is the wind in my eyes. Sack of monkeys in my pocket. My sister's ready to go. Hear the engines roll now. Idiot control now. Hideous control now. Nitty on the road now. Mini in control. Wheels on fire. Burning rubber tires. It stinks.